man. I can already see the comments for this video. I can close my eyes right now and envision the comment section of this video. No one wants to be featured in this video. No one wants to see their player in this video. No one wants to see their club mentioned in this video. No one. And yet, sometimes the things you need are the things you don't want whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be discussing the top 10 players in Europe this season with the most pressure to perform in the game. This is good. This is good. Honestly, if you guys know me, I've mentioned it on videos, I mentioned in comments, I've been waiting to do this video for a long time. I've been waiting. And one player single-handedly postponed this video. He did it by himself. I waited weeks, months, and now I can proudly confirm we can make this video. That being said, guys, leave a comment after the video once you see the full list. Like, share, subscribe. By the time this comes out, we might have hit 80,000 subscribers. Road to 100K. We'll be there. And let's get this video started. At number 10, we have Lucas Chevalier. Lucas Chevalier, the new PSG goalkeeper. I bet you guys weren't predicting that one. I bet you guys were not expecting it. But yes, Lucas Chevalier is the 10th player on this list. Now, I feel like so much has been made about the other side of this deal, which is basically Gianluigi Donnarumma leaving PSG to join Man City. So many people have had their say on that transfer. Does he fit City? Does he fit the way Pep wants to play? Is he an upgrade on Anderson? Should he start over Trafford? And yet, while all of this pandemonium has been going on one side, I think people have forgotten that PSG replaced this guy with Lucas Chevalier. Now, some people might not even know who that was, right? Some people might have just learned about him from the Spurs game. This was a guy that actually made the Ligue 1 Team of the Year last year. Yes, the Ligue 1 Team of the Year, which, by the way, I was there as they presented, featured 9 PSG players. Only 2 positions were not taken by PSG players in last season's Ligue 1 Team of the Year. Those 2 players were Ryan Cherki from Lyon and Lucas Chevalier, the goalkeeper. That's right, Donnarumma was not featured in Ligue 1's Team of the Year last year. And it's simple. Chevalier had a better league campaign than him. And there's numerous reasons why Donnarumma is no longer the PSG goalkeeper, right? Contract disputes, disagreements with how PSG wanted to go forward. Some people hypothesize that Enrique himself wanted to go a different direction of his goalkeeper and wanted to prioritize a more ball-playing, dominant goalkeeper. And that has led to the decision for Donnarumma to leave the club and Chevalier to come in. Now, despite all of Donnarumma's flaws, in which I believe he has many, one thing cannot be questioned. His shot stopping, in the most traditional sense, is elite. When Donnarumma's on it, there aren't many better traditional shot stoppers in the game. And that was on full display in PSG's run to the Champions League last year. So many big saves in the group phase against Arsenal, against Liverpool, against Villa. The guy was unbelievable. Those are big shoes and big gloves, literally, because I mean, the guy's a man mountain, but also figuratively as well for anybody to step into. Now in comes Lucas Chevalier. And I think from the first game he played against Spurs, that told me everything I needed to know about how this season is going to be portrayed by everyone else. If PSG don't win the Champions League, people will look at Lucas Chevalier and the decision to replace Donnarumma with him as a big contributor to why they were not able to repeat. Because just from that Spurs game, people who had never seen Chevalier in their life automatically started making entire generalizations about the guy. How he was no good, how PSG had fumbled, how they were going to regret this decision, how the job of a goalkeeper is only to save shots. Chevalier's mistake in that game was so loud and dominated the headlines so much that people literally forgot they went to a shootout and he was a big reason for why they won that. And at the start of the season as well too, Chevalier the other day, when they beat Toulouse 6-3, everybody looked at Neves' 2 bicycle kicks and his hat trick. But does anybody know Lucas Chevalier saved 2 penalties in that game? 2 in one game. No one knows about it. Quite simply, everything Chevalier does well this year will probably be ignored by most people. But everything he does wrong will be under a microscope because of who he's replacing. Now, I'm a big fan of Chevalier. I think he's underrated. I think he's a great goalkeeper. He was linked to United at one point, and I met him as well too, interviewed him. I think he's a great goalkeeper. But when we're talking about pressure and eyes from everybody on him for every single mistake you make, and we know goalkeepers, right? Every mistake you make is highlighted 10 times more than any mistake a fullback can make. I think Chevalier is the 10th player with the most pressure on him this season. Now, you guys might be thinking, yes, that really Chevalier, a goalkeeper? You goalkeepers? What? Is this how we're starting the list? A little underwhelming, no? Perhaps. But how about at number 9? At number 9 on the list of the players with the most pressure this season, I've gone for Benjamin Sesko. Now, there's a few reasons why there's a lot of pressure on this kid. I mean, first and foremost, the badge. He has just signed for the club with maybe more pressure on them from a media point of view than any other club in the world. Man United. Benjamin Sesko has signed for Man United. There is no more pressure than that from a media point of view. This is the club that it could be raining on Tuesday, it could be snowing on Thursday, but on Wednesday, they're talking about what the dinner lady is making for a meal at Manchester United. The whole world in England revolves around this club. Man United is the solar system, and all of its players are the planets. And Benjamin Sesko is the latest planet to emerge at Man United. And I mean, look, it hasn't been the greatest start. It hasn't, right? 3 substitute appearances, very little service sent into him, not much of a chance to actually impress. And when he was given the full 90 minutes against Grimsby, missed the big chance right at the end, and then decided to go 10th in a penalty shootout, which had the entire internet in a frenzy. Now, it's since come out that the reason why Sesko went 10th was because he felt a cramp at the end of the game, and the coaching staff maybe thought it won't even get the 10 penalties. We'll just keep him out of the firing line. But by then, the damage was already done. Sesko is in the media's eyesight, and we know what happens when Man United players are in the media's eyesight. It becomes a witch hunt. Sesko's on the clock now. Scoring that first Man United goal is no longer just a want. It's a need. It's a necessity. He must to get these fleas off his back. But the other reason why he's under so much pressure is similar to Chevalier, who he's replacing. Now, it's for a completely different reason, but his predecessor is a reason why Sesko has so much pressure on him. Many Man United fans didn't even want Sesko, and it's not because they don't rate him as a player, it's because of what he represents. Another young center forward with not much experience coming into a football club that is begging for someone to hit the ground running. That was Rasmus Højlund. Rasmus Højlund came into the club 2 years ago in similar circumstances, right? A young, talented center forward with the world at his feet that was asked to deliver and ultimately crumbled under the ridiculous amount of pressure that is Man United, right? And because of Højlund, Man United fans are now scarred by any young center forward that walks through the door. Oh, it feels like Højlund all over again. And the longer Sesko does not score, the longer it takes for him to really get his feet on the ground. And it's going to take a while because he's a young player, right? The louder the doubters will become. The louder the media will become. Me personally, I told you guys when we signed him, I'm a massive fan. For me, this is a top talent. And I will be backing him because I think there's a player there. But I'm under no illusion that this is going to be a learning curve for him this year. The problem is the media and Man United fans do not do learning curves. So Sesko, man, you got my support, but you are in this list for the players with the most pressure on them. From one new Man United signing, at number 8, we go to a Man United export. Ladies and gentlemen, number 8 on the list is Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford is on this list. Now, again, you might be asking yourself, Lyes, really? How can he be on this list? He has a new lease of life. He's going to be playing with freedom. He's going to be playing with confidence. He's upgraded. How can he have any pressure? Well, I'll tell you why he has pressure. Let's be real, guys. This is kind of last chance saloon for Marcus Rashford in terms of playing for a big club. It is. At Man United, patience wore thin with managers, with players, with fans, and eventually with the board as well, too. Years of, I think, just stagnation from Rashford for numerous reasons, not just himself, but years of stagnation from Rashford grew many people to become very, very frustrated. And he went to Villa last year, had a decent stint. I wouldn't call it an overwhelming success. I definitely wouldn't call it a failure either. But he wanted to go to Barcelona that entire time. Barcelona just couldn't register him. He finally got that move this summer. And while, yes, it's definitely a new lease of life for Rashford, and it's a second chance, a redemption for him, it is also last chance saloon. Rashford has to, and I mean absolutely has to, deliver on this stage. Because the reason Barcelona picked him up is the idea of Rashford and the potential of Rashford, right? We know what he's capable of doing. We know what he can do. We know what he looks like on his day. But we haven't seen a consistent, firing on all fronts Marcus Rashford for 3 years now. It's been 3 years. And he's at an age now where we can no longer look at him as that teenager or that youngster with mad potential. He's at an age now where it's get it done time. And at Barcelona, the excuses are no longer. You can't complain anymore about players around him not having a good enough supporting cast. You cannot complain about the manager not profiling him correctly. You can't complain about a rotten dressing room or a negative culture at the club. You can't complain about a defensive manager. Everything is set for Marcus Rashford to bang at Barcelona, right? This is the most insane attacking system in the world. Hansi Flick is an attacker's wet dream. Pardon my language, but he is. I saw Serge Gnabry under this guy become a Ballon d'Or contender, banging in goals for fun. Rafinha put in the career of his life. Lewandowski looks at him as like an XP boost. Every time Hansi Flick's his manager, Lewandowski goes Super Saiyan. This system is built for fast, energetic, dynamic attackers to thrive in. Rashford must thrive in it. Because guys, this team was there before him and it'll be here after him. The question for him is, can he stay in this team? Can he make a home here? Because if he fails to do so, I really struggle to see where Rashford goes after this. If Rashford does not deliver at Barcelona and does not secure himself a permanent move, I don't know where he goes from here, right? Because to leave Man United and go to Barcelona is a huge thing. And I don't like the people who say he doesn't deserve it, right? Because his talent clearly merits him getting a chance at that kind of club. But I think at this point in his career, he's running out of chances. And this does feel like the last one on his resume. He's got to make it work here. Otherwise, I don't know where he goes. At number 7, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Martin Ødegaard. Martin Ødegaard. This is it. This is it. I think you've lived off those seasons a few years back for long enough now. And Arsenal are no longer that club that are like a little horse, right? They're just needing a little bit of milk and they can carry a few stragglers. They can carry a few bus riders. They're at the stage now where it's now or never. It's not now or never, right? But it's winning time. It is time for Arsenal to put everything together, put the years of experience that they've built challenging for the title, put this amazing squad that they've assembled with the great manager that they have, and get it done. Nothing else than success this year is acceptable for Arsenal. It's winning time now. The worry is there's a few players that started this journey with Arsenal, but 3-4 years down the line, you're starting to wonder, is the story kind of going on, but they've hit their point. They've hit their peak. Gabriel Martinelli is one of them, and I'm starting to think Martin Ødegaard might be too. Now, last season was a disaster for Martin Ødegaard. It was a disaster. And I think the one thing going for him was there was a lot of instability at the club. There were a lot of injuries. He himself had a stop-start campaign with his injuries. But let's be real, guys. Martin Ødegaard, when he was fit and healthy, was not up to the level of a player that you would expect he'd be. All right, we look at Ødegaard as supposedly one of the best creative midfielders in the league, a very technically gifted guy, the leader, the captain of this team. And last year, he was not creative. He was not inspirational. He was not a great leader, you could argue. And in the biggest moments, could definitely be accused of hiding or shying away from pressure. A creative midfielder without an ounce of creativity in his bone last season. That's got to change. And not only does it have to change because Arsenal are looking to make big steps, it has to change because possibly for the first time in his career at Arsenal, Ødegaard's got major competition in his role. If Ødegaard 2 years ago, last year, doesn't perform well enough, Arteta's got to play him the next game because there's no one there. There's no one else, like a young Ethan Nwaneri. But now Arteta's got options. If Ødegaard goes through a similar patch as he did last season, he's got Eze that can play as a number 10. More so off the left, but they'll switch things around. Nwaneri is another year older. And this 15-year-old named Max Daumann is coming on game in, game out, and impacting games in 10 minutes more than Ødegaard is in 80 or 90. The time is now, Martin Ødegaard. Arsenal are in the business of winning titles right here, right now. The time for growing, the time for learning, the time for progress is over. They've progressed now. Arsenal have progressed to the mountaintop. They're right at the verge. Now it's about the final step. Can you be a part of that final step, or do they got to look elsewhere? The captain, the leader, the creative fulcrum of Arsenal Football Club. Are you everything you've been made out to be, or will this team after this season move on from you? Maybe not in terms of selling you, but maybe in terms of your importance. Are you the captain of this team, or is the spiritual leader Declan Rice? Are you the creative player in this team, or is that really a Barry Eze now? Ødegaard, it is time. Last season has to be a blip. It cannot be a sign of things to come. Because if it is, I think Arsenal will suffer this year. Right above him, we have Florian Wirtz. I really like Florian Wirtz. Let me make that very clear. I'm a fan of Florian Wirtz. Good kid, very talented, head on his shoulders, has a track record of performing in the big games, has won major competitions as the best player, has done it in the Champions League, has done it for his nation. This kid's a talent. And there's a reason why Liverpool broke the British transfer record the first time for him. But you see those words I just said, British transfer record. Now, I know it's been broken, and we will talk about that soon, but let's be real, Liverpool broke the bank for you. And they broke the bank for you because you are that guy. It's time to show it. And I would have put him in this list even before the first 3 games of the season. So had a struggle in the first 3 games. I understand that, right? He hasn't been at his best. I think he's getting up to pace. I think he's adjusting to the physicality, new team, kind of disjointed system at the moment. Arne Slot's figuring it out, and so is Florian Wirtz. So I'm not looking at these 3 games and saying that's why you're under pressure. But at the same time, too, look at the media reaction. Look at the online reaction to Wirtz's first 3 games. If that doesn't show that there's pressure on him to deliver, I don't know what does. People are looking at Wirtz and begging him to fail. I'm not one of them. I'm a believer in this kid. I think he is so talented, and I think he will become the player we think he is at Liverpool Football Club. But also, there's a necessity for that to happen. Last year, Liverpool Football Club were dominated in 2 attacking regards by one player, Mohamed Salah. Every goal they scored virtually seemed to come from him. Every chance created seemed to come from his left boot. Wirtz has come in to take some of that creative responsibility off of Salah. So the expectation for him this season is give Salah a break. Salah's 33 years old now. We know he's going to bang in goals and assists anyways, right? I say give him a break. It's not like he's going to score 10 goals, 5 assists. We know he's going to do his thing. But in games where Salah is maybe lacking or he needs a rest or it's just not working out for him, Wirtz, you're second in command from a creative point of view. Hell, you might even be first. And let's not forget as well, too, they lost Trent, who was the creative force of that team. Wirtz, a large part of that now is on you, the creative responsibility, the chance creating, the match-winning ability that we saw time and time again for Leverkusen. You got to be that guy for Liverpool. And they are the favorites for this title race. I don't want to hear anything about any other team. Other teams have to win as well, too. Don't get it twisted. Arsenal got pressure on them. We just said it. But Liverpool, you are the champions, and the expectation is you retain that title. Florian Wirtz, you are on the list. We now enter the top 5. The top 5 players with the most pressure to deliver this season. Can you guess who number 5 is? I won't even give you the time to do it. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. At number 5, we have Viktor Gyökeres. Viktor Gyökeres is number 5 on players with the most pressure on them to deliver this season. Now, let's remove the Arsenal side of things for a few minutes. This guy would have been in my top 5 if he had signed for Man United, if he had signed for Liverpool, if he had signed for Real Madrid, if he had signed for Barcelona, if he had signed for SDSFC. He would have been in my top 5 for one reason. Everybody wants to know if the Portuguese league is fugazi or not. The guy scored damn near 50 goals in the last 2 years, twice. Everybody wants to know, is it legit? Is he actually that guy? Are these numbers a real indictment, a real showing of what kind of player he is? Or is it all fugazi? We want to know. He could have signed for anybody who would have been on this list. And he finally made that move. Now it's time to figure out who the real Victor... Can the real Viktor Gyökeres please stand up? Well, he's landed at Arsenal. And because he's landed at Arsenal, now the pressure is almost doubled. Because what's been the dialogue? What's been the discourse around Arsenal for the last 2-3 years? What has it been? They need a center forward. Every pundit and their mother has been on TV over the last 3 years saying, yeah, Arsenal, amazing team, defensively brilliant, control games, so hard to beat, on the verge of making history, on the verge of winning. But they need a center forward. They don't have an out-and-out traditional goal scorer. Everybody said it. In steps the guy who scored more goals over the last 2 years than anybody. You guys see what I'm talking about here? You're mixing one ingredient, one angle with another to form a player with more pressure in his position than maybe anybody. The pressure for not only Gyökeres to prove that his numbers in Portugal weren't a fake, fugazi indictment on the league, and to prove he actually can score goals at a high level no matter where he plays, combined with the need for a center forward to come in and be the final missing ingredient for that Arsenal team to get to the next level. You mix both of them together, and what's left? 5th place on my list of most players, most pressure to succeed. That's what you get. Viktor Gyökeres, man. I mean, he's had 3 games, right? And I think he's had 2 where he struggled. I think 1 where he's looked really good in front of goal. One thing I've noticed about Gyökeres, for me, he's a bit of a bully in terms of, I watched him and he almost sniffs out mismatches, right? Does this center back, he's maybe a little physically weak on his left side. Let me expose that. This defender isn't quick on the half turn. Maybe I can get in behind him. He sniffs out mismatches. But in the Premier League, look at the quality of center backs at their disposal. Matthijs de Ligt was a learning curve. Matthijs de Ligt, I wouldn't consider him a top 5 center back in the league, but he tried sniffing a physical mismatch with de Ligt. He couldn't find one. Went up against Konate and Van Dijk. Looked for a physical mismatch or a quickness mismatch. Bro, they're keeping up with him every step of the way. So it's also a lot of pressure on him to accommodate to this next level. Because with all due respect to the Portuguese league, it is not the Premier League. It's not. And that's the reason why he's here, man. Number 5 on the list. Right above here. Some people might think this is low. Some people really might think this is low. And I would hear them, but you have to hear me out for my top 3. At number 4, the player with the 4th most pressure in European football to succeed this year. Philip Walter Foden. To quote the great culture cams. Philip Walter Foden. Phil Foden is on the list. Again, some of you guys might think too low. Some of you guys think, come on, this was the PFA Player of the Year a year ago, had one of the worst defenses of that title we've seen, and now City need him desperately. I get it. I get it. Trust me, I get it. You just need to trust me on who I got in the top 3. You'll understand soon. Foden's in 4th. I just spoiled it. He was the PFA Player in the league a year ago. You know what that means? The best player in the Premier League. By peers, by fans, by journalists. He was the best player in the Premier League. He was the catalyst for City beating Arsenal in the Prem. The catalyst for City going 4 in a row. The big goals, the big moments, rising to the occasion. And then he had that Euros. And I started looking at Foden a little differently. That PFA Player of the Year campaign was unbelievable. I see so many people doing revisionism on it now. It was an unbelievable campaign. And it was a campaign where I thought it was a real coming of age moment for Foden. He's finally the guy now. He's finally taken the mantle off De Bruyne, and he is the go-to man for Man City. And then we saw him at international level, where individuals shine above the system, right? Oftentimes, the best international teams are the ones kind of not carried, but led by one player. And he had everything built for him at England, right? He was the number 10, pushing Jude out wide. He was playing every single game, leaving Cole Palmer on the bench. Everybody in the media was saying he has to play. He's England's most talented player. And game in, game out, the guy failed to deliver. It was an absolute disaster class from Phil Foden at the Euros. We then go into the next season, and the PFA Player of the Year is consistently coming up smaller than mini-me. Game in, game out. Where's Phil Foden? Where's Phil Foden? Where's Phil Foden? Man City go 1 win and 13 in all competitions. Where's Phil Foden? It goes on a little run in January, February time. We're thinking, okay, can this be the catalyst for the rest of your season? It wasn't. Phil Foden was a virtual no-show last year. And for a player that we were all so excited to finally almost see take that responsibility and come of age, for that to last 1 year and go out the window was insanely disappointing. To the point now where, guys, Phil Foden is being disrespected, in my opinion, by the way he's being spoken about. Oh, one season wonder. He's not as good as everyone thinks he is. He's overrated. He's a flop. He's the media darling. Foden, this is your chance at redemption. This is your chance to prove to everybody that, no, last season was the blip. And actually, I'm the guy who won 4 Premier Leagues in a row. I'm the guy who was the PFA Player of the Year a year ago. I'm the guy who scored countless big goals for Man City in Champions League semifinals and Premier League deciders. I'm still that guy. But the flip side of it is another season where Phil Foden kind of just flounders and is another dude in a decent team. And it will almost start to feel like that 1 year was a blip. Phil Foden is a senior statesman in this team. I know he's still young, right? He's not 30 years old. But when you look at the City side, it's a side that's refreshing. It's a side in transition, but it's a side where the most experienced players are like Haaland and Foden and Rodri. None of these guys are 30 years old. So Foden is young in age, but he is that guy now. Players will look up to Phil Foden. And they're looking up to you because they're expecting you to lead like you were able to a year ago. The expectation for Phil Foden to return to his best level is massive. And it's massive as well, too, because more than ever, City need it. This is a City team that are struggling. They're sludging through games. Yes, they need Rodri as well, too, who I really considered putting in this list because the pressure on him to kind of return to his old level is huge. But I'm going to cut him some slack because he was injured a whole year. For Foden, they need you, bro. They need you. Man City are not doing anything this year if 3 guys aren't up to their level. Phil Foden, Rodri, Haaland. If those 3 can perform to the best level we saw them at a few years ago, City might yet have a say in this title race. If not, it's another year where City will have been an also-ran, and it's another year in Phil Foden's career where we look back at it and think, damn, bro, what a waste of talent this kind of seems to be. It might seem harsh, right? He's had amazing moments in his career, but the expectation at this point in Foden's career was so much more. We need to see him get back to his level of 2 years ago. I do. I'm a fan of Phil Foden. I still believe in this guy's talent. I'm not a doubter like most people, but one more year like last year, and it's going to be very, very difficult to kind of ignore the criticism. It is time to deliver now. Into the top 3. And I really thought about this order long and hard. I was very convinced these were going to be my top 3, but the order of it was really difficult for me. But I think I finally came to it. At number 3, it's Vinícius Jr. Everything I said about Foden in the last segment, multiply it by 10 for Vinícius Jr. Foden was the PFA Player of the Year a year ago. Vinícius Jr. was the Ballon d'Or favorite a year ago. And we talk about last season being a struggle for Madrid. We talk about it being a struggle for numerous players, for the coach. The system wasn't working. Many players drowned. But I don't think any Real Madrid player drowned more last season, especially the second half of the year, than Vinícius Jr. And again, I'm going to maintain this. I'm a fan of Vinícius Jr. I think this guy's unbelievable. I would have voted for him as the Ballon d'Or a year ago. But not many players have fell off in the space of 1 year from where Vinny was at for no injury. There's no injury that caused it. There's no, I don't know, he aged, he hit 30, 31, he didn't hit an athletic peak. He just fell off. Vinícius Jr. went from a guy that last October I was saying was the best player in the world to now I'm looking at and thinking, if you have another bad year like this, brother, you might be out of Real Madrid. That might sound dramatic, but it really feels that damning. Vinícius Jr. was flat out awful last year. And I really want to say the last 6 months of last season, because I think he started the season well, right? He had that game against Dortmund. He was firing in the league while Mbappé was struggling. And then January hit after the Club World Cup, and Vinícius just sunk like a stone. He sunk like a stone. This was a guy that when he failed to win the Ballon d'Or, came out and tweeted, "I'll do it again 10 times harder if I have to." 10 times harder is what he promised. You know, on your remote control, when you're controlling the volume on the TV, or when you're trying to fast forward, he pressed the wrong button, bro. He didn't go 10 times harder. He went 10 times weaker. He went in reverse. All of a sudden, he went from Vinícius Ballon d'Or contender to Vinícius, brother, Wallahi, stop passing him the ball. He's playing against us. He returned to that version of Vinny. Remember that one where Benzema's telling Mendy, brother, stop passing him the ball. He's playing against us. That's what Vinícius was last season. And on top of that, I'm going to be very careful with my words here, because Vinícius Jr. has been the victim of many racial incidents in Spain. And I don't blame him ever for reacting the way he does, because nobody should have to deal with that kind of stuff in 2025. So what I'm about to say has nothing to do with the racial incidents that he's suffered, because I think he's well within his rights to lash out over incidents like that. And I think he's actually dealt with it at times with incredible grace and class. Statements off the pitch, statements to La Liga. I give him nothing but respect there. But there have also been incidents in the last 6 months where Vinícius becomes petulant. He throws his toys out the pram. He argues with opposition players. He argues with referees. He goads opposition fans. There's an air of petulance at times with Vinícius Jr. And we love arrogance. I have no problem with arrogance, right? I have no problem with players showcasing their personality and bragging. And you guys are the best players in the world. That's what makes you guys so entertaining to watch. But there's a thin line between arrogance and petulance. And with Vinícius Jr., for the first time last year, I felt like he became a little petulant. Seriously, the play acting, the crying, the arguments with fans, the arguments with players, it became a little too much for me last season. I have to be honest with you. And when you're balling, you do what you want. You do what you want when you're popping, bro. But when Vinícius was in the form he was last season, no one really wants to see that. No one wants to see you going like this to the Atletico Madrid fans, or like this to the Champions League badge to the Atletico Madrid fans after you just put in an absolute shocker of a performance. No one wants to see that. When you're winning and when you're scoring goals, by all means, bro, showboat. That's what we were here to see, man. We want to see the best players in the world act like it. But Vinícius Jr. didn't play like one of the best players in the world last season. He played like a shadow of that. And for Vinícius Jr. this year, I won't spoil it, but there's massive pressure for him to return to the levels of 2 years ago. He started the season decently well. The last game he had against Mallorca, I wouldn't say it was Ballon d'Or Vinny again, but it was at least a respectable level, because he's failed to even hit that in the last 6 months. This year, he's got to return to the Vinny we know and love. And another thing as well, too, he's got to learn how to play with Mbappé, and quick. Because if we look at the last 12 months, there's a pattern. When Vinícius plays well, Mbappé doesn't. When Mbappé doesn't play well, Vinícius doesn't. Maybe the key to Real Madrid's success this year lies in Alonso's ability, but also Vinny and Mbappe's, in learning how to play with each other. Because if you can get the best of Mbappé and the best of Vinícius at the same time, something I'm of the opinion we haven't seen since the two of them joined together, that could be the difference in Real Madrid last season and Real Madrid winning everything this year. So Vinny Jr. is at number 3. At number 2, the player that postponed this list by 2 months. This video should have been brought to you in July, but no, we're doing it first week of September. At number 2, it's Alexander Isak. Alexander Isak is second on the list of the players with the most pressure on them to deliver this year. I mean, do I even need to explain why? Forget about Wirtz being at one point the most expensive player in Premier League history. That lasted all of 2 months. Alexander Isak now holds the mantle for the most expensive player in Premier League history. And oh my goodness, what a ride we took. What a journey we took to get here. I mean, it took 3 months of the most annoying saga I have probably ever seen, or one of the most annoying sagas I have seen in football. I mean, Newcastle and Liverpool, Isak and Liverpool. It dragged on, bro. It got so ugly at one point that I think everybody in the game, probably even Newcastle fans, just wanted to see this over. He wanted Liverpool, Liverpool wanted Isak. Just get it over with, man. Seriously, it was the worst kept secret in football. And finally, we've gotten here. But now that you're here, I mean, I was on SDS the other day, right? And they were debating how many goals will Isak score this season. And my good friend Ilyas Noriega said, yeah, I think he'll probably grab 15. And I almost spit out my water. 15 goals. Guys, Strand Larsen grabbed 14 last year. 15 goals. That's like what Jared Bowen averages. And I like Jared Bowen. Great player. But we're not talking about Jared Bowen. We're not talking about Strand Larsen. We're talking about the most expensive player in the history of the league. If Alexander Isak scores 15 goals this season, I'm sorry. That's a disappointment. That's borderline failure. 15 goals. He must have been injured half the year for him to grab 15. And I understand, look, he was the guy at Newcastle. Everything was focused around him. He's not sharing goals with anybody. At Liverpool, he might be. But the flip side of that is he's playing with better players. Better players are supplying him. He's playing with the best assister in the league of last season. He's playing with the best creator from the Bundesliga last season. 15 goals. I'm sorry. 20 is my bare minimum for Alexander Isak this year. Where I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, he grabbed 20. I'm just going to say it. I'm expecting an Erling Haaland-esque impact this season. Because guys, that's the kind of conversations we've heard Isak mentioned in over the last 6 to 12 months. Hell, I've even put him in those conversations because I think this guy's brilliant. He's maybe my favorite striker in the world based on profile. Tall, lanky, fast, pretty strong for a guy of his weight, right? He's not the most buff, but he holds off defenders, gives every defender in this league nightmares. Gabriel, Saliba, Van Dijk, scores with his right, scores with his left, scores in the air, scores in transition, scores against deep blocks. He's an amazing center forward, and he's shown that. But it's no longer enough to be like a guy who scores 6 goals in 6 games, but I don't know, goes quiet for the next 3 or 4. Or when no one's watching, he scores 3 goals, but then against City at the Etihad, he doesn't score. No, Isak, you are now the most expensive player in the Premier League history playing for the champions. So the expectation is no longer to just do what you did at Newcastle. You're here to elevate your game. And then I think mixing that with how he left Newcastle, how desperate he was to leave, to the point, I think he disrespected the fans, refusing to train, refusing to play, refusing to board flights to go to preseason. All of that to finally get his move to a team that won without him and are now looking to not just retain the title, but build a dynasty. Isak, you are here to help build that dynasty. They're not just signing you for this season. They're signing you for the next 5-6 years. But it starts this year. Alexander Isak has the world of expectations on him this year. I was arguing with a guy on Instagram after that SDS clip saying, well, if he scores 10 goals in the league and we win the league, I'll be happy. Why? Why would you sell Luis Diaz then? That's what he gave you. If you were happy with 10 goals and winning the league, you might as well kept Nunez and Diaz. You signed Isak and Ekitike to upgrade, to get better. You don't sign 130 million pounds worth of player for him to grab 10 goals, 15 goals, and contribute to a league title. You grab those kinds of players because they can be the difference between winning and losing. They can be the difference between 1 trophy and 3. And that's what the expectation has to be with Isak. He comes in to a great Liverpool team. They're amazing. They have the best player in the league. They have the best defender, maybe in the history of the Premier League. They have the best goalkeeper in the league. They're an amazing team that are just coming off an amazing season. You're not here to just ride the coattails of Salah. You're not here to ride the coattails of a great team. You're here to join them, but elevate them. Take them to the next level. Will he do it? Will he not? I think he will. I'm a big fan of Isak. Not a huge fan of the way he behaved this summer. I won't ever hide from that, but I'm a huge fan of this guy as a player. I think he is worth every penny. I think he is that guy. But the pressure is on to prove it at the next level, which leaves us with number 1. And I'm sorry, this should be a world consensus number 1. No person on the planet who claims they watch football, who claims they regularly keep up with the sport, can have one name at number 1 outside of this guy. Dare I say it, there might not be a player in my time ever watching football with more pressure on him to succeed than this guy. And I don't just mean succeed, I'm talking just success might not even be enough. This has to be the greatest year of his career. At number 1, you guys know the name, Kylian Mbappé. Kylian Mbappé. Kylian Mbappé. Ah, man. I said it last year. Last year already, I thought he had pressure. He came to Real Madrid, the champions of Spain, the champions of Europe, and he came there to elevate them. He came in to join the fun, stack up Champions League, stack up La Ligas. It all seemed like a dream come true. It all seemed like destiny. Mbappé, the best player in the world, joining Real Madrid, the best team in the world. There's only one way this is going to work out. He's going to win everything. He's going to score all the goals, and he's finally going to win that Ballon d'Or. What happened was anything short of that. Kylian Mbappe's first few months at the Bernabeu were an absolute disaster. They were an absolute disaster. That Clásico at the Bernabeu, when they lost 4-0 to Barcelona, was one of the biggest disaster classes from a superstar player I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the guy got caught offside like 15 times. It was a real welcome to La Liga moment for Kylian Mbappé, a player that previous to last season seemed immortal. He seemed invincible. He was a World Cup winner, and the second World Cup that he lost almost felt like more of a win than the first because he scored a hat-trick in the final. He was Mr. Clutch. He was Mr. Pressure. He was Mr. Best player in the world for me. And yet last season, Kylian Mbappé, for the first time in his career, seemed human. Now, some people will say, yes, he scored 40 goals. He won European Golden Shoe. I'm here to tell you right now, I don't give a damn. I'm here to tell you right now, it meant absolutely nothing to me. Because it might seem harsh, but that's the expectation of Kylian Mbappé. And you might be thinking, wow, that's the expectation? Yes, it is. This is a guy that we've been saying is the best player in the world for the last like 5 years. It's a guy that since he's been at PSG, we've all been saying, oh, once he joins Real Madrid, he's going to do it. Once he joins Real Madrid, he'll win the Ballon d'Or. Once he joins a better team, he's going to win the Champions League. Except when he did, none of that came true. And I'm sorry, still in the biggest moments last season, I was asking for more from Mbappé. Now, it wasn't all doom and gloom. It wasn't. Scoring those goals against City in the second leg, huge moment. Hat-trick against Barcelona in La Liga, huge moment. But think back to the other Clásicos. Where was he? Think back to Arsenal in the Champions League. Where was he? Kylian Mbappé didn't do enough last season for me. Not for a player of how much I value him. And then you add other angles to this, right? Kylian Mbappé joined Real Madrid with the title unofficially crowning him as the best player in the world. I think everyone thought Kylian Mbappé was the best player in the world 12 months ago. But look at the last 12 months. Kylian Mbappé has played Lamine Yamal 6 times. He's played Lamine Yamal 6 times. He's lost 6 times. He's played Lamine Yamal 6 times in the last 12 months and has lost 6 times. And on virtually every single one of those games has been outshined by Lamine Yamal. So not only is he losing to him, he's getting outplayed. He's getting outshined. There was 1 or 2 occasions I think Mbappé played a really good game, but for the most part, it's been almost overwhelmingly in Yamal's favor. Euro semifinal, Yamal grabs the winner. 4-0 at the Bernabeu, Yamal bags on his head. Super Cup, Barca win. La Liga return leg, Mbappé scores a hat-trick, and it's still Yamal on the other end getting all the plaudits. Nations League. Yamal dunking on France. In 12 months, we've gone from Kylian Mbappé being the best player in the world to now the overwhelming consensus being it's Lamine Yamal's world and we're all just living in it. Kylian Mbappé is supposed to be in the peak of his career. Lamine Yamal was 17 and is now 18 years old. So in that regard, brother, you got your chain snatched off you. You got to grab that shit back, man. This season, Mbappé has to. He must grab his chain back and cement himself as the player we all know he is, the best in the world. Has to. And then the other angle. That's just one angle, guys. First angle is he joined a team that won everything without him. He came and they won nothing. The second angle is that a 17-year-old snatched his chain for an entire year, stole his lunch money and ran off of it. Then we get to the third and most damning angle of it all, PSG. A team that while Mbappé was there, could never win the Champions League, could never take the final step, could never get over the line, to the point that we all thought, they're holding Mbappé back. He just needs to go to Madrid. That move is going to happen. PSG are going to crumble without him. He was the only thing keeping that team relevant, and he's going to go on and win all the trophies we know he will at Real Madrid. And what happened? PSG made history. PSG won everything. They had their fairy tale campaign. They won everything. And the most damning thing is they did it in a way almost as like an FU to Kylian Mbappé. They did it as a team. They did it without any superstar individuals. They did it with a guy up front who, when he was younger, was compared to Kylian Mbappé, was the overwhelming consensus was that Kylian Mbappé left them in the dust. And then that player won PSG the treble and will probably go on to win the Ballon d'Or by doing it in a way that so many people criticize Kylian Mbappé for not doing. Pressing from the front, being unselfish, being a team player, putting his team before him. Literally lining up like Usain Bolt while the opposition has a goal kick. Ousmane Dembélé did everything for that team last year in a way that people often criticize Kylian Mbappé for not doing. So in the last 12 months, Kylian Mbappé might have scored 40 goals. But I'm sorry, they mean absolutely nothing to me. They don't. Kylian Mbappé himself will probably tell you that was the worst year of his career. He has the chance to rewrite all of that this year. Real Madrid have retooled, they've rebuilt, and they've hired Xabi Alonso to come in. A team that, look, we can blame Mbappé, we can blame Vinícius, but under Ancelotti, he could not grab a hold of that team. Alonso has come in. Bit more structure, bit more shape. Kylian Mbappé, the first 3 games, has reaped the rewards tenfold. He's scored goals for fun. He's La Liga's top scorer right now. He looks sharper, he looks fitter, he looks hungrier. So he started the season incredibly well. Real Madrid will be one of the favorites for the Champions League this season. They will be neck and neck with Barcelona this year. So the opportunity is there for Real Madrid to bounce back and for Kylian Mbappé to as well too. But then we add the final recipe, the World Cup at the end of the season. France. Kylian Mbappé has the chance to go down, if he wins the World Cup this next year, as arguably the greatest World Cup player ever. If he wins the World Cup for France, that's 3 tournaments in a row where he won it as a teenager, becoming the first teenager since Pelé to win it, then going to another final, scoring a hat-trick in the final where, look, they lost that final, right? But Mbappe's reputation was never higher than after that final. Like, they lost, and it's like, lost on penalties, scored all 3 goals. And then he goes to the US and wins a second World Cup final, goes to 3 in a row. He might go down as the greatest World Cup player ever. Kylian Mbappé has everything to gain this year. Everything. But on the flip side, the pressure on him is never higher. This is the biggest year of Kylian Mbappe's career. I don't doubt the talent. I don't doubt the ability. I don't doubt the mindset. But it's enough waiting for Kylian Mbappé. And it sounds crazy to say that for a player who's scored so many goals, who's won the World Cup, who's won countless league titles. But we have been waiting for that coronation of the king. We have been waiting since the moment he made his breakthrough for Monaco all those years back for him to walk one day across the Ballon d'Or stage and lift that award. And he's had great seasons. He's had seasons where he scored loads of goals, but he's never had that year where he stood above and beyond everyone and combined performances, statistics, and silverware to finally get that prize. This year is a major opportunity to do so. And I'm going to go one step further. He must do it. Kylian Mbappé is at the peak of his powers. He's at the best level he probably ever will be, guys, right? Kylian Mbappé is not getting any better than he is now. This is it. This is the peak. This Kylian Mbappé, I mean, you could make the argument he might even have declined a little from his last few years at PSG. Because last season, I was looking at him like, you don't look as fast twitch as you used to. You don't look as explosive as you used to. Maybe your finishing is at an all-time high. But are you the most single-handed destructive force on the planet like you were 2-3 years ago at PSG? Debatable. But my whole point is, Mbappé doesn't have another jump in his career, in my opinion. I think this is it. This is the best we get from him. We probably have 3 more years of Kylian Mbappé at this level. It's got to happen eventually, bro. Real Madrid did not sign you to score 40 goals but not win anything. They signed you so that they, along with you, could dominate the sport. This has to be the year of Real Madrid, and it has to be the year of Kylian Mbappé. That's it. That's the top 10. Argue with whoever you want. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. Who did I miss out? Who was I too harsh on? Who was I not harsh on enough? I want to see all your comments in full glory. Trust me, there were some honorable mentions. There were, right? Rodri I considered. Kane I considered. Cole Palmer I considered. Olise I considered. There's a lot of players I considered, but you can only fit 10. These are my 10. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of them. Like, share, subscribe. Road to 100K is here. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace!